At 6, a Northampton man is facing charges after allegedly driving drunk and crashing his truck in Hadley over the weekend. On Sunday, officials responded to a rollover crash on South Maple Street. When they arrived, they noticed a pickup truck had driven off the road, hit a tree, a utility pole, and several mailboxes, as well as a steel gate on private property. The driver was out of the vehicle when officers arrived. They noticed he was showing, quote, several signs of impairment. After a roadside sobriety test, a breathalyzer, 20-year-old Parker Amy Starkowski was taken into custody. He now faces an OUI charge along with a slew of driving-related offenses.